Welcome back to Shovick Sports Shit. I'm Cory.
I'm Austin.
Got Royals game going on, so we're going to give you guys some live updates kind of on the go. It's top the eighth, runner first, 2-1 Royals. So we'll kind of, you'll hear some random talk about the Royals throughout. Let's first dive into some football and our sports hits. Actually, not football. It would actually be Pete Rose passing away. Baseball legend. You hate to see it. Whether you're a fan of his or not, and what you think of, should he be in the Hall? Should you do this? Should you do that? It's still a sad day for baseball. The dude's got records that's not going to ever be touched as far as hits go, and just we weren't able to watch him play. Obviously, he was well before us, but you're able to see highlights and how he played the game. Dude was always going 100 miles an hour, playing hard. So rest in peace to Pete.
Yeah, and won't repeat everything you just said, but also, Dikembe, Mutombo, kind of a rough weekend for sports legends. I can't say I grew up watching these people by any means, but we know sports enough, we like sports enough, and the history that comes with these sports, and those are definitely two legends. Like you said, no matter how you feel about controversy or not surrounding either one or both or whatever, but just rough sports weekend. Rest in peace to both of them. Kind of rough sports year. You need to start thinking like Willie Mays.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't this year, but it's always going to be Kobe Bryant, so rough 1 to 5 years, whatever. But I think I don't want to say it was a good thing to start off with, but not necessarily a moment of silence, but definitely want to show the love for sports legends.
May not have watched a ton of it, but we still did the finger wag.
No.
That was still a thing. So we still did that on block shots. So that's number 3 and number 2 for the night. Number 1's Royals clinched a spot in the postseason. Big time. If you listen to our prediction early on in the season, we kind of gave them between 85 to 90, and they got 86. So we were kind of close to what we were thinking. And it's kind of like we were talking before we came on here. If you would have told us when we were doing this that we'd still get to ALDS, which, we're still working on that right now on the top of the 8th. But if you still said that ALDS was still a thing, we'd take it in a heartbeat. So now you just got to get to the ALDS and kind of, you're going to run into the Yankees, which is going to be a little different. But, it's the first time I think I saw in 44 years since the Royals-Yankees met in the postseason. And obviously they had that rivalry back in the day, which the Yankees kind of had our number just based on, just the Yankees, right? So, but we were always there till the end with them. So I'm hoping that this can spark a new thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of how Royals fan, you always want to go into a series, again, not necessarily already in the ALDS, but kind of keep an open mind that before the year we would have paid money to make sure seeing them in the postseason, let alone the ALDS, we would have paid money to see it. So as much as we want to go into that hoping we win, keep an open mind that the Yankees are a good team this year. Obviously, I hope the Royals sweep them, but it could very well be the other way around. I think just appreciate the turnaround. We could have very much kind of did what the Royals always do and turned our 106 loss season into a White Sox season. So just enjoy the ride. If they end up losing this series or to the Yankees, obviously be disappointed, but also kind of happy that this wasn't just one step towards progress. We climbed 7 or 8 flights of stairs in one season, one off season, one season, whatever. So I'm just gonna enjoy the ride. Hope they just continue playing good baseball, but I didn't think they'd be better than the Cubs this year, and yet here we are.
Yeah, and I don't think they're as good as 14-15. That's a different animal. So I'm not even going to put this team on that level.
This team has a better player. Bobby
Yeah,
was the best player out of the teams, but that 14-15 team, bullpen, starter, like it was a good team.
that was the thing. Like in 14, you kind of knew there was maybe a chance, right? Like especially after that wild card game, the vibe, the energy, the vibe, and then just the way we were winning series, right? Like you go through, you sweep a good Orioles team, you sweep a good Angels team, and then obviously we know the 7 games with that. But yeah, not that I that's not to take anything away from this team at all, but I for one, in my opinion, am not going to put them on the 2014-2015. Now, could this be turned into something next season? Maybe. I mean, it just depends on what offseason moves you do and who you keep. But you have the building blocks there. You have your franchise player, Bobby Witt. Now you have your closer for the next 5-6 years, hopefully, in Urseg. So, I mean, the pieces are there. Now you just got to build on it. So, again, hopefully next week we're jumping on here and we're talking about a Royals-Yankees series. So that's going to wrap it up for the Shovick Sports Hits this week. Now, let's get into some week 4. Before we get into Chiefs Broncos and theirs, it would be foolish if we didn't talk about the shit show that is the Las Vegas Raiders. Yeah, man. There's some things that didn't seem too well. You have a coach who was calling out players, talking about business decisions were made, so they're going to make some business decisions. Well, the business decision was obviously Davante Adams and some of the other players, and now it's out. Davante Adams wants to trade. The Raiders are willing to do it. Could be happening to a better team, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's not that Antonio Pierce wasn't the right hire. He could still be. But you can't just call your player, like your best player out. Because now what? And that's Devontae now. What happens now with Max Crosby, right? It's like you got to pick and choose. I get you were a great former player, but now you're coaching. It's a whole different game. There's plenty of other former coaches who are coaching in the NFL, and they're doing just fine. So what do you make of the clown show circus that is the Raiders?
I absolutely love it. I just want to make sure that's loud and clear and just stated. With that being said, from more of like a serious point of view, I think the potential was there for Antonio Pierce. I just think he's a more out of control Dan Campbell. It seemed like he was trying to fit that mold, but it's a little more out of control. Dan Campbell was wild, but everything fell to him. It started with him and ended with him. I don't care who you are as a coach. You can't call anybody out in public. That's just not the way to go. You just can't do it. And then, like you said, let alone to make it your best player/players. You just can't do that. That shit should stay internal. If there's some heated discussions or something, like you can elaborate on it, but you can't just say shit like that. I mean, he can and he did, but in reality, you shouldn't. Not if you want to have a good organization, because you're not only going with the players in your locker room now, you still have, now when players are thinking about joining the Raiders, you're either going to have to pony up a little extra money to have them deal with that bullshit, or they're just not even going to consider going there because they know it's a place that you're just going to air their dirty laundry out there. And that's not all bad, but because accountability is necessary, but there's a difference from drama to accountability. So it's wild. I think the only player that would make this more crazy is if it was Max Crosby. I don't think he's one of those. He is one who's been missing time, but I think his injury's real. I haven't seen anything about him being a trade candidate, but Davante Adams is not someone who should be traded as much as he has been. I know the first time it was more Green Bay was trying to turn the page. This time it just seems like an organization that doesn't know what they're doing. So it's wild. I enjoy it. As a Chiefs fan, I feel for Davante because that dude has been nothing but a classy dude. Great player, good dude. I hope he gets out of there pronto. Not just because I'm a Chiefs fan, but just he deserves better.
Yeah, Denver has the Raiders this week, so I'm super pumped about this. I really am. It sucks because you still want the teams at their best, right? Like you never wish injury amongst anybody. You always want to play the best. And Max Crosby's obviously one of the top tier, obviously pass rushers in the NFL. So if he can't go this week, obviously speedy recovery for him. But as far as like Devontae goes, we saw today Adam Schefter said that it was the Saints and the Jets. Shocker. We kind of knew that. Honestly, I was surprised he wasn't moved to the Jets in the offseason once the Aaron Rodgers came out and publicly said, I'd love to have Devontae here. I'm sure once that news came out yesterday, Ron hit up the GM and said, I need this done and I need it done tomorrow. So I'm sure that something's in the work there. I'm not sold on him being a fit with the Saints. I like what they're doing with those young receivers. I think Devontae obviously helps anybody he goes to. But at the same time, I think the Saints need to look at it as just live with what you have. You're doing fine. But again, if he lands there, good for them. They're in a division that's easy. It's not easy, but it's, it could be easily won. Because we're not seeing much from the other teams, especially the last couple of weeks. And even the Saints themselves have kind of cooled off. So, again, who knows what the next few weeks are going to be like. I think November 5th is the trade deadline. So the next few weeks could be really, really interesting. I get him out of our division. And hopefully it continues there. And Max Crosby's next. Get him out. But good for the Raiders. Good for them getting into the news in a not so subtle way. There's some other people that have been brought up in trade talks. Amari Cooper, his name's been brought up quite a bit here recently. Again, a good option just based on his contract was obviously turned into a signing bonus, so he's only due 1.2 base salary, so that makes him easily tradable. So again, NFL trade deadline's not as fun most of the time, but there's some names out there that we could probably keep an eye on, and we won't get into trade deadline talks tonight just based on November 5th still a ways away. So that's just kind of what we've been hearing over the last couple of days as far as the trade talks go and some of the names that may be out there. So let's cut into it. Let's start with the Chiefs. Slow start, right? Chargers come out. Again, Chiefs just find a way to play their B game and still win. But, again, it's their defense that continues to step up when they need them the most. I still don't understand why Justin Herbert was out there when you're missing both your tackles. I think there was one point when Red Zone had him on, dude gets just absolutely destroyed, gets up limps, and I'm like, is that not good enough for you guys to I get it, you're up, you're winning, but at what cost, right? It's still week 4. So give us your thoughts on what you saw from both sides of the ball.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine how he ended up being out there. The question you ask yourself is a week 4 game important enough to kind of risk your season? Because let's be honest, as many good players and position groups that the Chargers have, your season for most teams rides on your quarterback. They found that it was worth it. I haven't seen anything since to see if Herbert's any worse off or not. I hope he isn't. He's a competitor. I have nothing bad to say about him. Honestly, it was I don't even know if I want to say it was a good football game, but it was good for the Chiefs to get a win and not hear that the whole time it was because of the officiating. So that was that's new. It's new ground for us. Usually it's always the officials handing us wins. When in reality, I don't think either team really wanted to win, but one of them had to. And typically that is Patrick. He usually is the one who finds a way to win. But it's not a confident 4-0 feeling, to summarize it. Our defense, when you're watching them, you feel like they're dog shit. And then at the end of the game, you're like, my God, we only gave up 10 points, 13 points. whatever. Because, I mean, we're missing tackles. We don't generate consistent pressure without bringing any Spags psychotic. I don't even know the word I'm looking for right now. It's those weird ass blitzes. That's really the only way we're getting pressure. That's not Chris Jones. That's hard for me to say because we all know George Karlaftis is my boy. But right now our edge rushers aren't getting it done without bringing any of those blitzes, so that's a concern. I will say one of the happiest things I saw was a cornerback 2 emerge. I thought Watson played fantastic. I know these weren't, the Justin Jeffersons of the world, but it's a momentum builder. He played well. He defended those quick routes, which is what can really get you against the Chargers. The quick throws, run after catch. He defended those well. We still need to clean up tackling. But all in all, like, we're 4-0. It's not pretty. I'll take it. The pending loss of Rice, which nobody knows what's happening, that could be huge. I have no reason to think Chiefs won't continue to find a way to be competitive and pull out more wins than they don't. But I can tell you right now, it's not a confident 4-0. And this isn't, again, Chiefs seem to be different in the playoffs, but as of right now, this is not a confident-looking three-peat team. So a lot of areas to clean up, but not pretty.
Yeah, one thing that's, can be said for the last 3 years is defense has always started out slow for the Chiefs. But as the season keeps going on and on and on, you start seeing a little more. Spags dials up a little bit more. And once that fourth quarter comes around, he's blitzing off. It doesn't matter. He's teeing off. Your quarterbacks better be ready. The line better be ready. Because, it doesn't matter what the situation. You don't know. I think there was a beautiful design that he had where it looked like one guy was going to come shoot the A gap, but that dude drops back and here comes the corner. Doesn't get a sack, but at the same time, it's still enough to where it was an incomplete pass and sets up fourth down. So one thing that stood out was J.K. Dobbins had been leading the NFL in rushing yards, came in doing really well. He finished with 14 carries, 32 yards, 2.3 a carry. As a team, the Chargers had 24 carries for 55 yards, which was a 2.3 mark. If you're going to beat the Chiefs, you got to find a way to run the ball. But now it's like, hey, let's start looking at this Chiefs run defense a little bit. Chris Jones had 2 sacks. You're always, what you're going to get from Chris Jones every week. I thought Drew Tranquil had a nice bounce back game. He had 10 tackles, I think 7 solo, but it's that run defense now. So, if the Chiefs are going to start doing better on the run defense side, well, that opens it up a little more with what Spags is going to call as far as like blitzes go. But when Herbert's 16 to 27 for 179 and a touchdown, that's not going to get it done with a 6.6 average. So, he obviously wasn't comfortable. He took 2 sacks. So obviously, outside of the 2 sacks, he was still hit quite a bit. Obviously, just looking through the stats, nothing jumps out. Outside of Ladd McConkey, what the fuck? 5 catches, 67 yards, and a touchdown. If Ladd McConkey's going to be leading your team in receiving, it's not going to spell much, especially when your next guy has 3 for 36. So it was a different game for the Chargers. It was an ugly game, but a game that obviously, again, the Chiefs find a way to win.
And there's 2 call-outs I want to do. Mostly because one of them I don't want to say I've sent any hate, but I have pointed out the sloppiness from him. The first one's Nick Bolton. I thought this last game was the first time he kind of looked like, not necessarily prime Bolton, but like he was working his way truly back. I think that last play of the Falcons game, I think that was a nice momentum builder for him, and he looked really good this last week. That's a really good sign to get him back to where he wants to. And then also, I think I might have been wrong on the safety to kind of watch for the beginning of the year. I said Jaden Hicks, but Shamari Connor has been, again, I don't know what goes into it. Just on the eye test, he's playing at an all-pro level. Tackles, making plays, interceptions, fumble recoveries, forced fumbles, being the main guy on some of those Spags blitzes. That dude's been playing lights out, and it's people like that make a team like the Chiefs just a championship contender. He wouldn't have been one of the first 15 players we named before the season's to expect to come in and have a huge impact. And we're here 4 weeks in, and he might be the most important person on our defense, not named Chris Jones or McDuffie right now. That's been a nice surprise, and just another player to kind of just watch moving forward.
I think probably the fourth quarter of the Atlanta game, after Bolton kind of went out early on with that injury, he came back. We started seeing a little bit different Nick Bolton essentially, and then end the game the way he did, and setting the tone for the next game. You're going to need him because Alvin Kamara is coming, and this is a little bit different of a back that you guys have faced outside. I mean, I can't say much because you guys faced Derrick Henry already. Well, kind of. You half-ass faced Derrick Henry.
He was on a team we played.
Yeah, and we saw what Derrick Henry did over this last weekend. So, congratulations to the Ravens for finally using him correctly and sticking with Derrick Henry. Sorry for your fantasy team who you're going up against. You got Derrick Henry for the first time ever. So welcome to the club.
I still pulled out the dub though. I got Derrick Henry, but got the dub.
And that makes it even better. So this is a different matchup this weekend with the Saints, with Kamara. You're going to need your linebackers to hold their ground. I still think you guys win this game. I do. Just because it's a home game. It's Monday night. Again, I'm always going to give the edge to the Chiefs on a primetime home game. I know it's been back and forth with how they've played, but Alvin Kamara does have a good fantasy matchup based on what he can do. But it is Derek Carr.
Receiving. I think he gets stuffed running because, like you said, Chiefs have been elite stopping, but he could shred us in the pass game for sure.
And this is still one that, if he does get going with the run game, I mean, that opens up everything. So then, if the Saints are able to establish that run and get them to where they want to, go with the play action game, that changes everything. So again,
what's your score prediction?
So I'm going to go with the Chiefs, and I'm still. I think you guys do. I think you get 24. I'm going to go 24-13. I don't like picking Chiefs every week, but at the same time, you have to understand certain things. Monday night home game, drunk Kansas City fans, hopefully getting ready for playoff baseball across the parking lot as well. Extra juice going on in the city.
I think the Saints have a little advantage here. They're not a team that goes to Arrowhead a lot, but Derek Carr has been. I think that's going to be a huge advantage. I know I said it with the Falcons, and I think the Falcons might be the new Chargers. Where they just get in their own way. Like, you have so much talent, how do you keep fucking it up? I think that's the Falcons. I don't think the Saints do that. They're the same as the Falcons. We don't match up well with them. They have really
Derek Carr's actually got a dub in Kansas City before too, right?
Plenty of them.
Yeah, those teams weren't as talented.
No, that's why we don't. It's the same as we don't match up with this team. They're the same as the Falcons. The only difference is they don't get in their own way. They will use the matchups that they have. They do. You watch them every week. They take advantage of matchups.
Right.
We can shut down Olave or Shaheed, but then the other one won't be fully covered. Now, I know I said I believe in Watson, but this is a different animal than Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston.
But I still think there's always that Derek Carr moment. Right? He's either going to do really, really good Derek Carr moment, or he's going to make that play like, why did you not just throw it away? Why are you throwing it into triple coverage?
Yeah.
And, we don't hate Derek Carr at all, right? Like, we've respected Derek Carr, what he's done. But Derek Carr has still made some, what? Like, he can't make that throw. So he's got to make sure that he's on his game. He's got to make sure that, he's got to quarterback the team, be the captain, be the field general, get your checks right. It's going to be loud. You're used to it. Can you keep your team under control?
Well, let's talk about the flip then, because every game this year, Patrick Mahomes has had multiple head scratching moments. And the Saints defense, like they make plays. They're no slouch. So we could also be sitting here like maybe Patrick makes those boneheaded plays just as much, if not more, or whatever. Now it's more unlikely. Like Patrick Mahomes still better than Derek Carr. I get that. I'm a little more nervous about this game than I even was the Falcons game.
Aaron Matthews been playing a little better in the games that we've seen.
You'll never hear us say that again.
Right. I think if DeMario Davis is out again, though, I think that hurts. So I need him to be in the game, and I'd feel a little bit better. Obviously, Cam Jordan, Chase Young's been doing okay. That D-line, I like that matchup with your offensive line. That should be fun.
The addition of Kareem Hunt, though, looks like it could be a game changer.
Yeah, looking at Kareem Hunt the other day and watching that game, he actually looked like he was in pretty good shape.
He looked sooner, for sure. That was my first thing.
He was running hard. He had a purpose. I know he's probably excited to be back.
Cleveland will do that to a man.
Cleveland will do that to a man. Carson Steele obviously rookied himself. He had every opportunity to hold on to said job and then fumbled it away. And that's a big no-no in Andy's offense. So I think I saw after the fumble, the dude didn't come back in. So I think Andy still puts him back out there, but I do slowly think you see Kareem Hunt's going to take over.
I think Carson Steele's gone the moment Clyde comes back.
Well, maybe. I still think
we're still going to favor Clyde over Carson.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
He also had love for Clyde. Value. So yeah, we'll go there. Royals are 1 out away. It's 2-1 in the bottom of the ninth. Urseg on 2-1.
Oh shit!
Yeah, Gunnar Henderson up, so I'll keep everyone updated on that. Urseg, just come on, man. So back to Carson Steele. I think he still has some special team value, and I still think he might actually transition over to be your fullback.
Who's gone when Clyde comes back? We don't have the. It would have been a receiver, but we can't offer one of those up anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What happens.
P. Ryan and Hunt aren't going anywhere. Those dudes are safe.
Yeah, P. Ryan's look good running the football for you guys. It's good. It's good for him. I'm glad to see him. Sucks that it's with the Chiefs, but if Sean Payton's not going to use him that way, I want to see that he's too good of a talent. And of course, again, I don't know why they had to drop on the telecast that he leads college football and rushing. Move on. It's been like 15 years.
Yep.
We've moved on. He's moved on. So please
find another stat. He's been in the league. Yeah.
He's been one of the best receiving running backs in the NFL for the last few years. Use that. God damn. Yep. So again, I like this matchup Monday night. I think we're going to get a good game. Royals win 2-1. Lucas Urseg strikes out Gunnar Henderson. We're going to the ALDS. Hot damn. Congratulations, Royals.
Dude, Baltimore has to hate Kansas City at this point, bro. Like, back-to-back times, we've swept them in the baseball postseason. Obviously, we're way better than them at football. The only thing that would make it sweeter is if we could play the Reds in the World Series.
Or the Phillies.
Cincinnati would be awesome. Oh, yeah, Phillies. Yeah,
Phillies. There could be a Kansas City Phillies World Series, and then the Philly fans. Yeah. Congratulations to the Royals. I'm excited we get to talk about this next week. Please play some hitting. Get your offense back in line. And everybody owes your pitching staff a huge fucking steak dinner the next few nights because they've been carrying your asses. Honestly, the last week and a half of the season, the pitching staff's been balls. It's beautiful. So, again, Royals win 2-1 over the Orioles. Move on. They will start the ALDS at New York against the Yankees. Yeah, that's awesome. St. Louis Cardinal fans, sorry. Better luck next year. Anyways, so back to football. Kind of wrapping up the Chiefs talk for Monday night.
My final score. That's right.
Yeah, and I get it. Everyone wants to talk about the Chiefs offense being fantasy irrelevant. But I think you're starting to slowly see more Noah Gray. That's, he had some big catches. So I still think this is a good Trav game, just based on their safeties aren't huge, and I think that gives Trav, easy targets essentially. He hasn't looked crisp running routes, but at the same time, bound to be right one time, right? Or is it just one of those where he may just get one or two catches for 30 yards and call it a day?
Nah, I think with the injury to Rice, I wholeheartedly believe that we were kind of just coasting with him until the playoffs. I do think that changes with the Rice injury. You have to have an alpha male. Nobody else has that DNA. I get Juju could at one point he was. I don't think he has that anymore, but you still have to have an alpha male, kind of that alpha dog out there for your offense, and it's going to be Trav. I'm not saying it's going to turn into anything statistics wise, because Saints are a good defense, but I do expect his target share to go through the roof for as long as Rice is out, or until we can get other people more comfortable kind of taking some of those. But for this week specifically, I especially if they're going to put Honey Badger on Travis, like that's a joke.
He's got to say something. I mean, he's going to, the alpha male in you says, hey, I can do this. But at the end of the day, you got to say, coach, bruh.
Yeah.
I just against this guy for a few years. I kind of know I just can't do it.
Yeah. So, I think as long as Rice is out, my statement of coasting with Trav to the playoffs is not going to hold true. I'm going to have a weird random score prediction. I think Saints win 21-18, but the kicker on that is Saints are going to get 7 field goals. The Chiefs are going to get 6.
Oh,
I think
God.
it's all field goals. I don't think both these teams kind of they move the ball well, but both defenses are really good, and they'll stiffen up in the red zone or kind of scoring zone, whatever teams want to call it these days, to where both teams hold each other out of the end zone. That's going to be a boring ass game for those who don't like good defensive games. Let me tell you, it's going to be one of the main reasons I want to get rid of kickers in fantasy and kind of have across the board. But it's going to be a good defensive game. I don't think there's going to be many turnovers. I think you're going to see both quarterbacks kind of play close to the vest, trying not to lose it. More so Patty. I think he realizes how many turnovers he's had, and we've kind of been lucky with it. So I think we kind of play it close to the vest. We get a couple big plays here and there because Andy always dials those up here or there. But I think it's going to be a good game for those people who enjoy defense, and it's going to be nothing but field goals, 21-18.
And I hope we get at least one touchdown, because what we're about to talk about wasn't much better.
Speaking of,
I don't care because it's a win, and it's a huge, huge road win for a young team. Denver goes on the road and beats the Jets 10-9. God, it seems like every time we turned it, the red zone got over to them, it was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out.
Bro, how does a team win a game when at one point your quarterback completed 7 passes for -7 yards?
In the first
that
half,
was a real stat from Bo Nix.
when he finishes the game 12 of 25 for 60 yards and a touchdown, first NFL touchdown for Bo Nix. Good for him. Cortland Sutton had 3 for all 60 of those yards. But the huge thing is Denver had 31 carries for 126, which is a 4.1 average. When they needed the run game to step up the most, they absolutely did. Tyler Bidet obviously gets hurts his back really bad. Hopefully he's back soon. I know dang it, he wasn't spotted at practice day, as he shouldn't be. It could have been way worse than what it was. But in a sense, Javonte Williams, 16 carries, 77 yards, which was a 4.8 average. And then Jaleel McLaughlin, 9 carries, 46 yards, which was a 5.1 average. You needed the run game in the worst possible way with the weather. Huge, absolutely huge for the run game. Obviously, I would have loved to see more points scored, but at the end of the day, the final score matters. Dub's a dub. We're going 2-2, and we're staying ahead of schedule. Obviously, Breece Hall and they had 23 carries for 63 yards as a team, which was a 2.8 average. Breece Hall 10 carries, 4 yards. They bottled him up the whole game. That was huge. They sacked Aaron Rodgers 5 times, so that was 12 sacks in the last 2 games for the defense. That's pretty much all I'm going to talk about the Broncos Jets game. Is this Broncos defense has been something the last few weeks. Vance Joseph's getting a little ballsy with some of his play calls, and I'm absolutely a huge fan of this. I hope he starts. I don't think he's going to stay calling certain cover zeros against certain teams. But by all means, be aggressive and continue to sack the quarterback. 12 sacks over the last 2 games. I think I saw Chris Jones and Zach Allen were tied with the quarterback pressures through the first 4 weeks. Chris Jones is still better than Zach Allen, just so we're all aware of this. But it's still huge that Zach Allen.
Talking about value, though, like somebody's making a lot more money than the other guy. So,
right. So, I mean, it's still been huge. Malcolm Roach has been a good pickup. John Franklin Myers had a sack against his former team. So, obviously, Pastor Tan's doing his thing on the corner. Riley Moss is getting better each week. He had a huge PI that we were still both kind of like, But as a young player, turn your head, get in better position.
That was literally it. Turn your head.
Turn your head, get in better position.
You weren't like pulling him down. You just didn't turn your head. That's it.
Yeah, man, I'm so excited about Riley Moss and what he's been able to do, getting better. That's able to the Broncos to keep McMillian in the slot. But again, this pass rush has been something different. Denver's pass rush hasn't really been existent since Von Miller left a few years ago. Brandon Jones has been one of the top graded safeties so far the first 4 weeks. He's been a huge addition to the defense. He's had a couple picks and had a couple close calls against Aaron Rodgers over the weekend. As a non-Bronco fan, because I'm going to sit here and say, yes, I think this is sustainable for this defense. But I know that we have the Raiders and Chargers coming up, but then we have to flip the page, and then we have Baltimore and Kansas City on the road after the Panthers. So it's not all sunshine. You're still going to have that part of your schedule, and that just happens to start with the Ravens and Chiefs back-to-back on the road. But is this sustainable from this defense?
It is. It seems like a lot light years ago, and you may not be able to answer this for me. It was just last season they gave up the 70 points, right?
It was week 3 last year.
And I don't mean to bring that up in a negative way, but I mean, after that, the defense got really good for the rest of the year. So I do, maybe not to this level. There might be a smidge regression from a week-to-week standpoint. But I think as long as it's still complimentary football, you can say what you want about Bo Nix not putting up numbers, but he also hasn't put the defense in a shit ton of bad spots. So as long as that continues, the defense not being put in bad spots, I think it is sustainable. I want to be a little realistic and say, specifically against the Jets, I don't know if it was. I think it's more concerning from the Jets standpoint than it is Denver. I think so far their Lord and Savior, Aaron Rodgers, hasn't exactly looked great. I think one game he did, but other than that, it's been a little suspect. So it's good for Denver to, they went out and did their job and did what they were supposed to. But I think, again, Jets haven't really looked real Jetish, or what we expected. I do think you're spot on. And I don't even think you have to wait for the Chiefs-Ravens game. Division games are always a different animal, so I think the Raiders and Chargers games will give you a really good kind of idea of where you're truly at defensively. We say what we want about the Raiders and Chargers and how they don't look exactly powerful, but division games are always different. They see each other all the time. They know each other. I think in the next 2 weeks you'll actually get a really good idea where you're at.
Yeah, in case in point with division games, Jacksonville looked like shit all season, but then they actually come back and actually look pretty decent against Houston. That's a division game on the road. So, and Denver hasn't beat the Raiders in 8 games. It is what it is, right? Like, we have a losing streak against the Raiders, so I can't say too much on that but all the games have been really close. So, this is a different Denver team. I see us finally going towards the right direction. I'm still not sitting here saying they're going to be a 10 to 11 game win team. But there's, you win, you beat the Raiders, and you win the next 2 games, you're sitting 4-2, or even you split the next 2 games, you're sitting 3-3 when you play the Panthers, and then the sky's the limit there at that point. But is your rookie quarterback showing improvement? Is he getting your receivers involved? Do you get the run game going? And is your defense still playing at a high level? If you can answer those and say yes, then I think you're happy with where your team's at.
Yeah, it goes back to kind of what we both have talked about kind of leading into the season and then after each week. Pretty or not, Denver's stayed competitive in every game they've played. Their young quarterback is showing progress, but even through that progress, he's not putting your team in harm's way.
He hasn't turned the ball over in 2 games, so that's a start.
That's a really good building block for a young quarterback.
Yep.
Like, okay, you're not turning it over. Okay, explosive plays, scoring a shit ton of points, it's not there. But you're still not costing us games. Coming in as a rookie and being a game manager and just keeping your team competitive. I bet there's some teams out there with not even just quarterbacks in general that wish they were competitive each and every game, having a quarterback who didn't put them in harm's way. So I do agree. I don't know. I'm not sitting here saying Denver's going to make an AFC championship game anytime soon. And I was a little skeptic before the season on how realistic you should be with your hope. But I think after 4 weeks as a team, there's a lot of good there. There's way more good than there is bad. You haven't been blown out. You haven't just sat there and watched a Broncos game and just cried like you have over the last decade or so.
It was pretty goddamn close Sunday, though. My God.
Yeah, it was an ugly game, but you have a rookie quarterback who won an ugly game on the road. Like, you can throw any little thing you want out there, like defense won the game. What? Okay, we can pull up thousands of games where a rookie quarterback on the road in that same exact situation had a terrible turnover, picks it, something that did cost him a game, but he didn't. He still won a game on the road against a 40-year-old quarterback, against a team who did have AFC West championship predictions or expectations before the year. So however you want to slice it, at the end of the day, he got a road win, a big road win against what was supposed to be a good team. So I'm not saying Denver should be excited, but I think Denver fans have to be stoked that they can turn into the game every week and know that there's a really good chance you can watch a game for 4 quarters and not just hate yourself.
Yeah, and got to give a shout out against the offensive line. He wasn't sacked again, so and that was an issue last year. But any true fan that sits there and tells you that the offensive line wasn't really the problem last year, but this guy, he's making quick decisions, albeit not all of them have been good decisions. But he is, over the last few weeks, you see him run a little more, right? Instead of standing there, hold the ball. No, it's like, I'm looking at my reads. They're not there. I'm going to go stay ahead of the chains. Palczewski, who's stepping in for Mike McGlinchey, his second straight week of, I think he only allowed 1 pressure this week, but that's 1 pressure in 2 games. So good for him, good on him. That's the guy to be really, really, really excited about. Garrett Bowles should probably worry a little bit based on his contract year for Garrett Bowles, but now you see a guy who's on a rookie contract who's holding his own against some pretty good defenses. But that's for another time. So, but I do want to give the offensive line their credit because, again, the rookie's best friend is an offensive line. And you can look over in Chicago and it's not that Caleb Williams is playing bad. It's just, my God, when the dude snaps the ball, he has to bail. And that's just not part of his game. In college, yes, it was part of his game. He could get away with doing that. But he's learning the hard way about how Justin Fields felt last year. So again, that's not saying Caleb Williams is a bad quarterback. It's just, again, look at how important offensive line is to a rookie quarterback. Then you go look at the East Coast and the NFC East, Washington. Daniels has looked like this is like his 5th year in the NFL, it seems like, with how composed he's been playing. His offensive line hasn't been playing great.
Let's give a shout out to all those Chiefs linemen on Washington, though, all right? Those are Super Bowl champions.
Super Bowl. Yeah, man. I mean, again, that's just showing you, like, now you kind of see why Drake May's not starting in New England.
Oh, Jacoby Brissett's dying.
Like, the offensive line in New England's getting Jacoby Brissett, a veteran, they're getting him murked. Like he's
Straight
literally like,
murdered.
I'm surprised he doesn't have some broken ribs. He's been slow getting up after a few of these hits. So again, as long as I see Denver's offensive line protecting their quarterback and that helps him develop, by all means, man. Like I don't. Yes, I would love for Broncos to be a playoff team this year, but that's not my expectation. I just want to continue to see this team get better and build for next year. You're going to have almost $100 million in salary cap. Now you can build your team, right? So it's like, I want to see progress week to week. So let's break in to Raiders week real quick so we wrap this up. We got the Raiders. Obviously, the Raiders got lucky last week. Amari Cooper's 80-yard touchdown was called back. Chiefs probably paid them, apparently. I don't know. You could just say Chiefs fans paid them. Wide open, too. Like, my God. So, Raiders come in 2-2 as well. They had some issues, obviously, going on that we talked about at the beginning of the show. This game doesn't scare me at all. It really doesn't. It's a home game for Denver. We've got the throwback uniforms coming on this weekend. We've been on the road last 2 weeks, so I know Mile High is going to be rocking. Fans are going to be ready. It's Raider week. No one likes the Raiders. So again, I'm super stoked about this game. And I am going to give me Denver 31-10. I think this is the week Bo Nix is going to get back on the throwing train. He's not going to have 60 yards passing. Please, for the love of God, no fucking rain this weekend. Just give me sunshine and 70 degrees in Denver. Please. Let me see Bo Nix be able to throw the football. I'd like to see Javonte continue to build on what he did last week. So, again, Denver's defense is going to be able to hold the Raiders' offense. They do have that Tucker guy. It worries me a little bit because I don't think our corners are speedy enough. But, again, if our pass rush is effective, that shouldn't matter. So, again, 31-10, give me the Broncos all day, every day.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's 34-17 Denver. I agree with you. I think this is going to be Bo Nix's coming out game, especially if Max Crosby doesn't play.
Yes, Max Crosby cannot play.
I mean, my score prediction won't change, but how Denver gets to 34 might. But I still think it's Bo Nix's coming out game. There's too much turmoil going on right now for the Raiders. And they don't really have a stable voice anywhere, from the coach to the quarterback to the GM there's no stability anywhere. And I know that sounds weird to say, but that matters.
It does.
I don't know if I've mentioned it on a show before, but I think every team's turnaround starts with your GM, head coach, quarterback. 2 or more of those positions have to be stable for you to even have a chance to do anything special. And the Raiders right now have nothing. I don't think they're going to be able to just block out these distractions. And Denver's coming off a really good win. They have momentum going up, and the Raiders are just spiraling down. Again, it's the NFL, so anything can happen. We could come back next week and Raiders win 42-0. That's just it's the NFL. Anything can happen. But right now, just 2 completely different directions these teams are going. So I think that's going to show on the field with kind of an ass beaten by Denver.
And before we get into our fantasy picks, we want to update everyone on our KU Jayhawks in the pros. Dorrance Armstrong had a massive game for Washington against the Cardinals. Dude had 5 tackles, 3 solo, 1.5 sacks, 1 TFL, 3 QB hits in a 42-14 win against the Cardinals. Dorrance has been one of our favorites. He was on
the shitty KU teams for us.
He was on the dark teams, yeah. But him and Daniel Wise on that defensive line at KU, we knew Dorrance was going to be special. It sucks that he had to go to the Cowboys, but if he doesn't go to the Cowboys, then Dan Quinn's not able to really find him, and now he's Dan Campbell's guy. So he follows him to Washington. He's had a great start to the season. Again, 1.5 sacks, 3 QB hits, 1 tackle for loss. It's huge. And then our other one, Austin Booker, 2 tackles for the Bears. He's getting quite a bit more playing time in rotation, so good for him. It's a beautiful thing to see KU players essentially balling out in the NFL, and hopefully they continue, to build and get more in the NFL over the next few years. So let's dive in and end on our fantasy sleepers and busts from last week. Your sleeper was Was it Jalen Hurts or was your bust?
No, that was my bust.
Yeah, so Jalen Hurts was your bust, and then Tupac Shakur was your sleeper. I believe you went 2-0.
I actually don't remember how Tupac Shakur did. I didn't finish that game because Derrick Henry I thought he was ending my week, but I don't know if Shakur counts as a win. He was projected 11 and got like 10.4.
Ooh, that's a loss.
So, I mean, he did what was expected, which I don't think counts as a sleeper. So I do think that's a loss. I know Jalen Hurts put up not way less. I think he got close, but he was under his projections, which counts as a win. But that game started off really good for that. First half they had like no total yards offense.
He was sacked 6 times.
Yeah, so maybe not all on Hurts, but yeah, nailed it with Hurts. Tupac Shakur, I think he ended up battling an ankle injury for a lot of that game, and then the game just got out of control, and they kind of just didn't play everyone forever. So that kind of hurt, but I'll take 1-1. Give me one win each week. I'll be all right.
So my sleeper was Jerry Jeudy. He had 6 catches, 76 yards, I believe. Let me pull that back up. I was just looking at it, but I wanted to check something else.
We know it was a dub. We know it was right.
Right. So yeah, 6 for 72. So that was 13.2. So I mean that was 5 points more than his projected. So we'll take that. As far as my bust went, Garrett Wilson, Patty Surtain locked him down for a good chunk. So he finished the game 5 for 41, but he also had a fumble. So that's well under. I think it's almost 10 points below what he was projected. So that's a dub as well. So 5 for 41, 9, then -2 for the fumble, or 1, I guess. So it's 8.
It's typically two.
So either way, good week. Obviously, 1-1. We haven't been 0-2 yet, so we're gonna take that as a pretty good fucking thing. So give us week 5. The first round of buys are coming up this week, so I know I have quite a few. Lions are definitely on a bye. My fantasy lineup can confirm that. So give us your week 5 sleeper and bust.
You got the Lions. My roster can confirm that the Titans have a bye, so you can take that information and just realize how my fantasy team is. I don't really want to do this bust, but I have a gut feeling it's a week of a reality check for this guy. My bust is Jaden Daniel. Look, I love the dude, and I hope I'm wrong on this one. He's got a gut feeling. Tough defense he's going against. I know that hasn't really mattered to him yet. I think it's a road game in Cleveland. I know they're playing Cleveland. I don't know if it's on the road or not. I know he's projected one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks now.
It's a home game against Cleveland. So
home against Cleveland. Well, I'm sticking with it, damn it. I know he's projected as one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks, so the bar's getting higher for him, which helps me in the long run on this potentially being right. But he is still a rookie, and there has to be at least one game where he looks like it. I think. I guess it doesn't have to. But that's my bust. You want me to go ahead with my sleeper?
I do.
All right. I know we just talked a lot of shit on this team, but I kind of liked what I looked on top of some of the news that's been breaking on their top receiver. I think this is Mike Williams' big time game. He's only projected like 6 or 7 points in our league. But there's been some news that Garrett Wilson's unhappy with the routes he's running. Him and Rodgers just haven't really clicked yet. You combine that with Aaron and Mike kind of look like they're developing a little connection going on. So honestly, all it takes is one bomb to Mike Williams for him to exceed his projections. But I just think, I don't remember how Aaron Rodgers used to treat receivers who bitched all the time. I think to me, it seems like he's at the point where it's like, you want to bitch, then I have enough people elsewhere. Like, I don't care about you.
Right.
Type deal. So, and I don't know if it was necessarily bitching, but it didn't exactly come out and sound good with Garrett Wilson saying he's running different routes and he doesn't like it. So I think Mike Williams is going to have a huge game given that and an easy opponent. So Jaden Daniel and Mike Williams for busting sleeper over here.
Yeah, no, those are solid. I'm going to go ahead and my sleeper this week is Antonio Gibson. Um, I saw that Mayo did come out and say that they were possibly considering doing a running back switch. So I really do like the idea that Gibson gets some more touches in that offense. He brings a little different dynamic to their offense than what Stevenson does, but at the same time, it's like what is really their offensive, what makes their offense really dynamic to begin with. So I do like that. So I'm going to go ahead and take him as my sleeper. And then my bust, go ahead and chalk me up for Josh Allen against the Houston on the road. I'm probably going to regret that just based on how he's looked. But again, Houston's still a really good team. Their defense is still really good. So give me Josh Allen, QB, as the bust. I know that's very bold, and hopefully I don't regret that. But that's what I'm working with this week.
Yeah, we're coming after the top quarterbacks this week, boys.
Oh yeah, that we are. So again, hey, we had some new followers on Instagram. Some of you guys have reached out to let me know that you've listened to the show. We appreciate it. Again, if any of you want to come on the show, just reach out. Tell us you want to come on the show. We'll work something out with you guys. New followers in Illinois. So again, we appreciate what you guys are doing for us, listening and giving us your feedback. Again, that's why we do it. We want to be able to interact with you guys. Again, Justin, quit using our sleeper and bust so seriously. But again, if you want to keep doing it, buddy.
I think we avoided his team this week, though. I think this is the first week we haven't had any of his players.
Yeah, so good luck. And Justin, for the first time this season, go Texas A&M. Beat Mizzou. Beat Mizzou, buddy. Right, you can do it. So again, find us on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Next week, we are going to talk a little postseason baseball to start the show next week. Super excited about that. Congratulations again to the Royals, and we'll talk to you guys next week.